Carl Sagan, start asking the universe questions. Your intellect will explode. It is easy to think of scientific revelation as something that happens in a sterile lab or an observatory on a distant mountaintop. Yet Carl Sagan believed that the seeds of great discovery, the kind that can elevate our minds to astonishing heights, lie everywhere. In the glow of the night sky, in a fossil embedded in rock, in a grain of cosmic dust floating through the cosmos. Sagan's career catapulted him to the forefront of popular science. But behind his fame was a man on a never-ending quest to ignite curiosity in everyone he met. He believed that if people dared to question the universe, unabashedly and relentlessly, the very act of asking could reshape their intellects in ways they never deemed possible. In the early years of his life, Sagan displayed an unquenchable curiosity that set him apart from other children. While others might gaze at the stars occasionally, forgetting them as soon as morning came, he continuously bombarded his teachers, his family, and sometimes even random shopkeepers with queries like, how do we know the sun is a star? Or, is there life in the glow of distant planets? These were not the fleeting questions that simply arise from childhood wonder. They signaled a deeper, more profound need to understand and connect with the universe around him. In high school, Sagan read voraciously, devouring science fiction and scientific journals alike. He did not limit himself to astronomy. Biology, chemistry, anthropology, and philosophy all pulled him in. By the time he arrived at the University of Chicago in the 1950s, he had the spark of a man determined to unify what he learned into a coherent vision of the cosmos. Indeed, the professors at Chicago found in him a student for whom the thirst for knowledge seemed endless. Later, Sagan pursued graduate studies in astronomy and astrophysics. He worked under luminaries who encouraged him to keep questioning. One mentor recalled that Sagan's greatest strength was not merely in analyzing data, but in posing impossible questions that drove deeper investigation. Questions about the chemical origins of life, the structure of planetary atmospheres, or the possibility of intelligence elsewhere in the cosmos. These were the seeds that would later sprout into NASA missions, best-selling books, and ultimately the legendary TV series Cosmos. During his formative years, Sagan's approach to science was fueled by an almost childlike curiosity. He saw the why behind every corner. If a planet had clouds, he wanted to know what chemicals formed them, how thick they were, whether they might harbor some exotic airborne life. If a moon orbited a gas giant at a strange tilt, he wondered whether hidden oceans lay beneath its crust. This relentless pursuit of knowledge quickly caught the attention of established scientists. They admired him, though some also fretted at his willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. Sagan believed that if we do not dare to ask bold questions, we remain forever limited by the vantage of what we already know. He arrived at a guiding principle. The universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition, as he famously said, but that should not stop us from inquiring. One might interpret this as meaning that reality could be far stranger and more wondrous than we can imagine. Instead of forcing nature into preconceived notions, Sagan insisted we must be flexible enough to adapt our questions to the data we find. This perspective, in his words, could make an intellect explode with insight as we realize how meager our initial assumptions are when set against the boundless cosmos. He once recalled a vivid memory from childhood, lying on the grass, looking at the stars through a simple backyard telescope his parents had gifted him. As the small lens brought the craters of the moon into view, something clicked, an epiphany that the celestial objects overhead were real places with their own landscapes, their own histories. Suddenly, the cosmos was no longer an abstract painting on the night sky, but a collection of worlds waiting to be explored. This sense of amazement ignited in him an unshakable feeling that, with enough courage to ask the right questions, we could learn about our cosmic home in profound detail. One of his pivotal early contributions came in the study of Venus. Many assumed that under the planet's thick clouds, you might find a lush jungle environment. But Sagan's work in planetary atmospheres helped reveal that Venus was scorching hot, with a runaway greenhouse effect. This was not a conclusion born from going along with popular ideas, but rather from a series of rigorous, creative questions about atmospheric chemistry. What if the clouds trap heat? How reflective is the atmosphere? What about the role of carbon dioxide? By systematically refining these questions, Sagan and others pieced together a shocking reality about our neighboring planet. A lesson in how science can overturn assumptions if only we interrogate nature persistently. Fast forward to the 1960s, when Sagan became involved with NASA's Mariner missions to Venus and later the Viking missions to Mars. He seized the opportunity to push the boundaries of our understanding of life beyond Earth. The nuclear fear pervading the Cold War era seemed to overshadow cosmic curiosity, but Sagan stood firm. He argued that exploring these worlds answered fundamental human questions. Are we alone? How do planets evolve? Could life arise independently? These became the mantras that animated public imagination. Sagan's ability to weave narratives from scientific facts set him apart. He turned raw data into stories that captured global attention. His TV series Cosmos, aired in 1980, was the crystallization of this gift. 13 episodes that took viewers on a journey from the microcosm of DNA to the grandeur of distant galaxies. In each episode, Sagan encouraged viewers to question everything, not in a spirit of cynicism, but in a spirit of awe. His phrase, "Start asking the universe questions," was not a mere rhetorical flourish. He believed it was the secret to unlocking the fullest potential of a human mind. He used to say that these questions, how did the universe begin? Why do galaxies cluster the way they do? What processes shape life on Earth? Are powerful not merely for the answers they yield, but for how they reshape the questioner. He insisted that training ourselves to see the world this way, always open to deeper inquiry, was an invitation to intellectual transformation. People who embraced such questioning, he noticed, became more imaginative, more capable of synthesizing knowledge from diverse fields. Their very approach to existence exploded beyond everyday trivialities, catapulting them into domains of cosmic perspective. A lesser-known aspect of Sagan's life was his fascination with ancient civilizations. He pored over historical texts about Babylonian, Egyptian, and Mayan astronomy. It humbled him to see how these societies, with comparatively limited instruments, managed to deduce celestial patterns, calendars, and eclipses. He admired the thirst for cosmic understanding across time. If humans thousands of years ago could track planetary motions so accurately, what wonders might modern humanity uncover with telescopes orbiting Earth, rovers on Mars, and soon, perhaps, crewed missions to distant worlds? All it took, he reiterated, was a willingness to ask, ceaselessly and bravely, questions that lay just beyond the scope of our present knowledge. He saw the same principle in biology. Sagan, in collaboration with people like Lynn Margulis, pondered the complexities of evolution, the idea that living organisms might have emerged from cosmic processes. "We are made of star stuff," he famously declared. If that was true, then life itself was an outgrowth of cosmic chemistry. Atoms forged in distant stellar furnaces converging over billions of years to form cells, tissues, and consciousness. Once you let that notion sink in, how could you not keep asking bigger, more audacious questions? Sagan predicted that such queries, once you start them, lead you down a path where your intellect expands far beyond conventional boundaries. He recognized, however, that curiosity alone was not enough. The questions had to be disciplined by evidence. This is where skepticism and critical thinking came in. Sagan coined the phrase, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence," capturing his conviction that big ideas must be rigorously tested. This balance, wild curiosity but rigorous evidence, set the stage for major leaps of understanding. If your questions roam free, but you accept every claim without proof, you can drown in misinformation. Conversely, if you cling too rigidly to established wisdom, you strangle curiosity. Sagan's brilliance lay in walking that tightrope, urging others to do the same. Let us now insert a small pause to pose a question for you, the viewer or reader. Have you found yourself hesitating to ask certain wild questions because they seem too big or too speculative? If so, can you recall a time when following a seemingly bizarre question led you to a real insight or a life-changing understanding? Feel free to reflect on that. Perhaps you will discover that your greatest moments of intellectual growth occurred the moment you dared to ask the impossible. Continuing Sagan's story, one cannot overlook the role he played in championing the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, said he. The notion that other civilizations might exist among billions of star systems was once considered fringe, even laughable. Sagan saw it differently. If the universe teems with countless galaxies, each hosting billions of stars, many with planetary systems, then the idea of alien life was not only plausible, but statistically compelling. The main hurdle was how to look for it and what questions to ask. He collaborated with Frank Drake on projects that sought to detect radio signals from distant stars, a method built on the assumption that advanced civilizations might try to communicate or inadvertently leak signals. This was not idle speculation, but a structured approach, involving questions about the frequency of habitable planets, the probability of life emerging, and the timescales needed for civilizations to evolve technology. Skeptics accused him of wishful thinking, but Sagan countered that the only way to find out was to gather evidence. And that began with forming the right questions. Are we alone? Where might life-friendly environments exist? What frequencies or channels might be best for interstellar communication? In the 1970s, Sagan played a pivotal role in assembling the Voyager Golden Record. This record, carried aboard the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft, contained sounds and images chosen to represent the diversity of life and culture on Earth. Music by Bach, greetings in multiple languages, natural sounds of wind and surf. Sagan saw it as a cosmic message in a bottle. Could it be that one day, eons from now, another intelligent species might stumble upon this record and decipher our existence? The entire project was a testament to Sagan's ethos. By asking the universe questions, you do not just passively wait for answers. You also proactively offer knowledge about who we are, forging a cosmic conversation that might outlast us. But Sagan's desire to spark intellect was not confined to big NASA projects. He spent years teaching university courses, many of which were oversubscribed as students flocked to hear him speak. In these lectures, Sagan would emphasize that the questions we ask shape the reality we perceive. A student might raise a timid hand. Could there be life on a moon like Europa, under its icy crust? Sagan would beam and say, "We do not know yet, but isn't that fantastic? Let us imagine how we could find out." He encouraged them to design hypothetical missions. Think about robotic submarines, or analyze the chemistry of water under high pressure. The exercise of imagining potential answers forced them to refine their questions, and in that, their intellects grew. Another dimension to Sagan's life was his willingness to engage with the public. He wrote numerous popular books, The Dragons of Eden, Broke His Brain, Pale Blue, that combined scientific rigor with philosophical reflection. He believed that science was not meant to be locked up in professional journals. Instead, it should be shared widely, fueling the curiosity of everyday people. These books often tackled massive queries. What is consciousness? How do brains evolve? Are we merely a speck in the cosmic ocean? And in every chapter, Sagan's voice echoed with the same conviction. By grappling with these questions, we enhance our capacity to understand reality and to empathize with others who share this pale blue. Throughout his life, Sagan encountered naysayers who saw his public-facing approach as showmanship or accused him of diluting complex topics for the masses. But Sagan was unwavering, arguing that the public had a right, even a duty, to partake in humanity's cosmic inquiry. He worried that if the general populace lost their curiosity, democracy itself could suffer, as misinformation and superstition could fill the void. In one of his more cautionary works, The Demon-Haunted World, He warned that scientific illiteracy could lead to a society ripe for manipulation. If people did not learn to question authorities, check facts, and remain curious, illusions could dominate. Yet he was not gloomy. He held on a hope that with the right spark, entire generations will become unstoppable inquisitors, youthful minds stepping onto the cosmic stage with bold questions. Sagan felt that the synergy of new telescopes, improved computing, and collaborative research across fields of biology, geology, and astrophysics could produce mind-blowing discoveries. If only we did not lose the impetus to ask. If only we remembered that the cosmos was more than background scenery. It was, in effect, our cradle, our teacher, and perhaps even the family of life forms beyond Earth. His private life showed the same passion for inquiry. His friends and family recalled dinner conversations that ranged from black holes to Greek philosophy to the best method for brewing coffee. Sagan could pivot from explaining the spectral lines of distant suns to debating the works of Socrates in the same breath. He reveled in the knowledge that everything was interconnected. The helium in your party balloon was forged in cosmic processes. The coffee beans grew from sunlight, made possible by nuclear fusion in our star. Perhaps a trivial example, but for Sagan, that triviality was woven into an awe-inspiring cosmic tapestry. Now, let us place another question for reflection, about midway through this journey. Have you ever experienced that sense of cosmic wonder that Sagan championed, where suddenly your everyday environment took on a deeper dimension? Perhaps you saw the sunlight differently, or the moon's glow made you feel part of something vast. Did that moment spur you to seek more knowledge, or did daily life soon swallow that feeling? Reflect on how you might nurture that sense of wonder more consistently, because Sagan believed such nurturing was essential for an intellectually explosive growth. During the 1980s and 1990s, as Sagan's public influence peaked, he became an advocate for space exploration not as a luxury, but as a vital part of understanding our survival. He emphasized that searching for life on Mars or studying the greenhouse effect on Venus had direct implications for how we treat Earth's climate. By examining other planets, we glean lessons about atmospheric change, geology, and sustainability that apply to our own world. Thus, the cosmic questions also guided ethical choices. If we see Earth as a rare oasis in a mostly barren cosmos, might we not treasure it more? One of his most poignant contributions was the concept of the pale blue, inspired by an image taken by the Voyager 1 spacecraft from over 6 billion kilometers away. Earth appeared as a tiny speck. In that speck, Sagan saw the sum total of human history, every conqueror, every tragedy, every success, every artist, every invention. He found it humbling and elevating at once. Here again was Sagan's principle in action. A single cosmic perspective can rewrite how we see ourselves. He penned lines about how all the blood spilled by generals and emperors took place on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. If that recognition does not alter your sense of scale and your priorities, what would? But Sagan did not merely want to evoke humility or despair at our smallness. For him, acknowledging Earth's fragility reinforced the need for cooperation, empathy, and greater curiosity about how to thrive in a grander cosmic context. The image also epitomized the payoff of asking big questions. A group of researchers once asked, "Can we turn Voyager around for one last picture of Earth?" That question was not operationally necessary. It was more of a philosophical gesture. Yet it produced an iconic photograph that changed hearts and minds worldwide. Thus, a moment of curiosity sparked a global wave of introspection. He also delved into the matter of how civilizations might handle knowledge. Some watchers on the sidelines might suspect that as soon as a civilization becomes advanced enough to develop nuclear weapons, it stands a risk of self-annihilation. Yet Sagan remained an optimist, advocating for reasoned discourse and scientific literacy. If we keep asking the universe questions, maybe we can collectively find answers that steer us away from catastrophe. Maybe the power to question the cosmos also comes with the wisdom to preserve what we have. The personal side of Sagan was not all starry-eyed. He battled serious illnesses in his later years, including myelodysplasia, which eventually took his life in 1996. Even in hospital rooms, he insisted on reading the latest scientific findings, sometimes penning short notes about the directions in which exobiology might move next. His wife, Andrew, recalled how, in the hospital, Sagan would still ask philosophical questions about mortality, consciousness, and cosmic continuity. For him, the boundary between science and daily existence was non-existent. Life's greatest mysteries deserve pondering in every moment. When Sagan passed away, tributes poured in from around the globe. Millions who had watched Cosmos felt they had lost a mentor, a gentle voice that encouraged them to keep learning. Scientists praised him for bridging the gap between academia and the public. Critics conceded that he redefined what a science communicator could be. But in Sagan's own words, the story was never about him. It was about us, the human species, standing on the shore of the cosmic ocean, deciding whether to dip our toes or dive in. So, how we honor Sagan's call? He would say, keep asking the small questions. Why does my coffee taste different in the morning than in the evening? And the big questions, what forces shaped Earth's climate? Are we alone in the galaxy? Each question might lead to more questions, fueling a chain reaction of intellectual and spiritual expansion. In that sense, start asking the universe questions. Your intellect will explode is more than a tagline. It is a blueprint for living a life ablaze with curiosity. A recurring theme for Sagan was synergy. He believed that people from all walks of life, artists, poets, philosophers, scientists, engineers, should unite in cosmic inquiry. Each discipline contributes a lens. The artist might interpret cosmic images in ways that stir the soul. The philosopher might push conceptual boundaries. The engineer might design hardware to gather data, and the scientist might interpret that data. The sum is greater than the parts, leading us closer to truths we can only glimpse alone but might fully behold together. Near the end of his life, Sagan reflected on how he would want his legacy to be understood. He expressed a desire that future generations see themselves as stewards of a remarkable planet, perched in a cosmic ocean teeming with unknown wonders. He had no illusions that we would find simple answers to all the big questions. In fact, he relished the idea that each discovery gave birth to new mysteries. That unending dance of question and answer was, for him, the essence of being human. Throughout his career, Sagan's sense of wonder never diminished. Even as he aged, faced bureaucratic hurdles, and saw repeated political setbacks in securing funding for space exploration, he remained an optimist. He once wrote, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." That sentence epitomizes how he saw our place in the universe. Not as mere spectators, but as active participants in an unfolding drama of cosmic proportions. In the spirit of concluding with one final reflection, ask yourself, if you committed, even for a few minutes each day, to ask the cosmos a question, whether by gazing at the sky, reading a snippet of science writing, or simply meditating on the nature of existence, how might that reshape your daily choices? Would you see your problems differently? Would your creativity spark in unexpected ways? Carl Sagan would wager yes. He believed that once you fling open the doors of curiosity, there is no going back. Your intellect, and perhaps your sense of awe, expands beyond measure. And so we end with Sagan's clarion call. He implored each of us to be more than passive consumers of knowledge. We must be active explorers, forging new questions that push the frontiers of thought. When we see a star twinkling, do not let it be just a pretty point of light. Ask, what kind of star is it? Could it have planets? If so, might something there be looking back at us? Or perhaps a more philosophical question arises. Why does the universe bother with consciousness at all, granting us the capacity to reflect on it? With each question, we peel back a layer of ignorance, forging a path toward deeper insight. That is Carl Sagan's legacy. He did not want docile acceptance of the cosmic spectacle. He wanted an ongoing dialogue, a cosmic conversation that stirs each mind to its fullest potential. After all, who are we if not the universe asking itself what it is? Let that be your invitation. Tonight, when you look at the sky, or even if the clouds obscure it, ask a question. Any question. Let it marinate in your thoughts. Maybe tomorrow it births another question, which prompts you to read a book, watch a documentary, or conduct an experiment. Over time, see how your intellect morphs, how your perception of life broadens. If you follow Sagan's counsel, you might indeed find your mind stretching in ways you never thought possible. An explosion of understanding that only grows more intense with each cosmic inquiry. So carry that spirit with you, remembering always that the grandeur of the universe is not locked away in some distant realm. It permeates every molecule, every ray of light, and every fleeting thought that dares to wonder why we exist. In that sense, you and the cosmos are intertwined partners in a dance of discovery, and it all starts with a question. Will you ask it?